always being hopeful and trying to see the best in everyone is simply naivety and delusion. Okay. So, if you have the tendency, or you think you should have the tendency, to always hope for the best in an individual, always think for that the best potential outcome is possible. They could be the best that they could be, right? Now, again, this is often just naivety and delusion, okay? Self-defeatism, essentially. A weakness, a surrendering, a giving up of sorts. This isn't to say that we should never have hope for the best in ourselves or others, okay? But that we need to have two different distinctions here of when we're addressing things in the world around us, okay? So on one level, on a more philosophical, abstract level, we can have the dream, the desire to see the greatest potential in people, okay? So to hope for the best, to hope that this person will be a good person, okay? Only in that we don't cloud our judgments with doubts and suspicions instead, okay? So let me reframe that, let me rephrase this, let me put this point across very succinctly, very concisely, okay? And try to sink this point home, because so many people are caught up on this specific issue in the modern world, specifically in the modern Western world, a lot of Westerners, right? Now, why do folk why is it encouraged to try to see the best in people, okay? And why does it often become just a self-delusion, naivety and weakness from which people are taken advantage of, okay? A weakness, a fault, okay? A weak link in the chain, essentially. Fundamentally, it's often human nature to think negatively. Our brains are designed, if we want to be scientific, very pragmatic about this situation, our brains are designed like a computer with certain programs which allow us to function in the world and thus survive, alright? So our brains are programmed in a way, if we think we see a tiger or a lion in the bush, okay, we freak out and we think we see a lion or something. Why? Our brain creates more negative things like this, negative abstractions and delusions. Why? Because if you think you're seeing the lion in the bush, but you didn't really, and you just freak yourself out for no reason, alright, that means when there actually is a lion in the bush, you survive, you have children, and the people who don't freak out when there isn't a lion in the bush and freak themselves out and get all paranoid for no reason, when there is a lion in the bush, they get eaten by the lion, they go extinct, their children don't exist. So all the people who are alive today, we project negative things and we get paranoid and we freak ourselves out with negative things like, oh no, a lion's about to jump out the bush and eat us, because that's the way we're programmed as organisms in this existence to survive and exist. Again, if we didn't think like this and focus mostly on the negatives and then make up a bunch of negatives that aren't even there and just freak ourselves out and get paranoid over all these things and panic all the time and worry all the time, alright, then we'd go extinct. We'd be too passive. We wouldn't be alert enough. We wouldn't be on edge, ready to run from the actual lions in the bush that will actually rip your throat out. Alright? So that's just the way that we're designed as humans. It's a process of evolution. It's been millennia. All organisms within existence have this same function. It's a principal function of existence. Alright? It's just a part of life. Now, that is the reason why. So this is why we're encouraged to see things positively. Alright? We are encouraged from positions of religious, philosophical positions, general just health or healthy mental, cognitive function, spiritual health, etc. Being a mentally sound, healthy person, you want to be positive. You can't just focus on all the negative, because you will become a wreck. All right, you will become a paranoid wreck, a freak, just absolute mess. All right. So as a human being, because we're organisms that exist, our brains are programmed in a certain way that if we don't consciously try to be more positive and inject false hope and false positivity into our lives and into the way that we think, the narratives that we tell ourselves about our existence and the world around us, then we will go crazy, because everything's so negative and everything's trying to kill you. All right? Everything in the world's trying to rip you off, stab you in the back, or kill you, and you'll just go insane. So again, why we're designed like that? Because if we weren't, we'd get eaten by the wild lions and we wouldn't exist. So everything that does exist is naturally paranoid and freaking out. Okay? Because otherwise you're too passive, you get eaten by the predators. So everything's panicking, everything's alert, freaking out. Because otherwise it wouldn't exist. It would have got eaten. So that means as human beings, we have to consciously have positive ideologies, positive affirmations and things like this. Otherwise we go insane, because we're naturally negative creatures that focus on the negative and freak the fuck out that we're going to die all the time. Alright? That's how we're naturally programmed to survive. So we have to consciously be positive. So that's why folk will become naive and delusional with false hope as to how positive things could be or should be. Alright? Because they miss the mark, they forget the only reason you have hope in yourself, or hope in any other human being, hope in humanity, or any of this. Why? Is because that takes you away from the natural state of insanity as a human being, which is constant panic that you're going to die. Alright? It's not to actually pretend there's actually hope and real potential in the world, because then if you actually think that's what it's, then you go delusional, then you become naive, people take advantage of you, again you become passive, you go extinct. Alright? So it's about having the balance, understanding the world around you and what you are as a human being, how you function as a human being. Alright? Understanding that you are programmed to be negative and focus on the negative, because that's how you survive. Alright? Otherwise you're too passive, not alert, you get eaten by predators. Then you don't exist. Alright? So being a healthy human being is about understanding that your natural state is a state of panic and paranoia. Alright? And then injecting positivity and hope into your mindset, your state of being, your state of mind, in order to just balance that out and not be a constant insane wreck that's paranoid 24/7. Okay? It's not to go all the way to the other extreme and think that the world's perfectly okay and nothing will ever hurt you, and to see the best in everyone. No, you should be at the same time still thinking, when is this person going to slit my throat or stab me in the back? While at the same time trying to think and have that positive hope, I hope they're a good person and they want to do right, and they have this potential in them to be better, to be greater, to do just things, noble things in the world around them. So you want to have that hope, that projection to keep you balanced, all right? So you're not just freaking out 24/7, while at the same time, you should still be thinking every single human being you ever meet in your entire life. When is this motherfucker about to slit my throat? Because it could happen at any second. If you allow yourself to be in any situation with any human being, all right, again, no matter how well you know them, how well you trust them, and not still hold on to that thought in the back of your head, when is this motherfucker going to try to slit my throat, so I'll be ready to slit their throat first, right? If you haven't got that still, right, even with your closest loved ones, your parents, your children, I don't care who it is, okay, your closest loved ones that you trust beyond anything, if you've lost that natural paranoia of when are they going to try to kill me and slit my throat and take me for everything, you have become a delusional, weak, pathetic organism that's too passive, and you will go extinct. That's why, okay, those folk like that don't exist long term, because they go extinct. Because guess what happens? Eventually, somebody's parents, someone's mother, or someone's children slits their throat to take everything from them. Okay? It happens. And what happens in those situations when that eventually does happen? Because it happens. It's not like if it might, you know. No, it happens. It's a part of existence, part of life. Parents will kill their children. Children will kill their own parents. That's the world we live in. It happens. It will happen. All right? So when it happens in your genetic line, have you become that passive that you're not ready for it? That you are too passive that you don't notice predators when they pounce? Or do you still hold on to that natural instinct to survive, which makes you just imagine the predators when they're not even there? Your brain automatically freaks out like there's a lion in the bush that's going to jump out and bite your head, you know, bite your throat out, right? Or have you become that passive that you have hope and you're faithful and, you know, you want to have positive intentions and positive wishful thinking and, you know, let's just think positive and then good things will happen, all right? Because I'm telling you right now, have that attitude for long enough, eventually a lion's going to jump out of the bush and rip your throat out. Alright? So, to conclude, fundamentally, yes, it's good to have hope, alright? To want to see the best in folk. But if you don't also have suspicion, equal suspicion, and you don't also see the worst in folk, you're delusional. Not only that, you've become a genetic mutant. You will go extinct. Who you are, the way you exist, you will not exist in time. Alright? Not long term. You're a temporary mutant that's not going to actually last, you know what I mean? Like a mutation, a genetic mutation that just pops up for 1 or 2 generations, and then you go extinct forever, and you'll never exist ever again. Maybe as a genetic mutation here or there that just goes extinct again because it's useless, it doesn't work. It doesn't survive in the real world. Okay? So, relating this to a current recent conversation around how should we address folk who are promoting anti-whiteism. Alright? That's my attitude. Basically. Okay? I'll go over it again. Try to reiterate and make it, easy to understand. So in this context, understanding these principles of evolution, basic existence, principles of existence, applying this to, white well-being, going free, the promotion of the recapturing of our destiny as members of Western kind, all right? Trying to get folk to go free of the anti-white meme pathogens which infect them from the anti-white narrative, which, make them express in anti-white manners. Should we be hopeful? Again, to a degree and with balance, yes. We do want to be hopeful, right? And try to see the best, wish for the best, that's possible in someone. But while at the same time holding on to that suspicion that they're probably the worst. They're probably scum. Probably utter scum. So that when they do act in ways that, is scum and harmful to you and your loved ones, you're ready and you notice it straight away and you stop it and you protect yourself and your loved ones. Alright? Again, any situation, this basic framework works. This is how you should look at everything and anything in life, in this context, in this regard. When it comes to, should you have hope? Should you be suspicious? Should you think this person's out to get you or they want to help you? That's right. You should be thinking both at the same time. Again, one of the reasons why we try to promote seeing potential, hope in somebody that they can be good, because that can actually help bring that out in them. All right. A lot of the time, folk they don't see their own potential. They don't think they can be a better person until someone else sees it in them, which then allows them to see it in themselves, which then allows them to achieve and work towards being that better version of themselves. So, hope can be useful to help others grow by allowing them to have hope in themselves to take steps to better themselves. Alright? But if you are having hope for someone and potential for someone and they're not taking that on as potential and hope to better themselves, alright, they're questioning or they're doubting, they have this criticism, then it's useless. There's no point having any hope or thinking there's any good potential in this individual, because they're not taking that on as a reflection of themselves to see that they could be better. There's more potential in themselves to be better, and then to work to be better. And that's the only point of it. Again, when you're trying to give it to someone else, if you're trying to use hope, right, to help others, that's how it works. If you're trying to use hope to help yourself, the way that it was previously explained is how it works. Alright? You have hope, you want to see good and the best in life, because otherwise your brain's programmed to see the worst. You're going to be a wreck, negative, hate life, be grumpy as fuck, never happy. What's the point of that? That's being a loser. So, to help yourself, have hope in others, to a degree in balance with suspicion in them as well. Alright? To help others, have hope in them only to the point to which they are able to reflect and have that hope in themselves. To better themselves, to potentially better your own situation. Win-win. Okay? So, an individual who's expressing anti-white nonsense, that's the way you want to take it, alright? For example, somebody wants to keep using the word racist, alright? They think it actually means discriminating on the basis of someone's race. It's not just a slur against white people. It's not just like the N-word, but the R-word for whites. Alright? So there's an individual, they want to be anti-white by still using the concept like racist as if it's a real thing and not just a racial slur against innocent white people. Alright? So you want to address this, you want to come at them with hope that they are able, right, to be good people. Have hope that they have the potential in them to actually see the reality that believing in concepts like racism legitimizes racial discrimination against innocent white people, as racist is just a slur, a stereotype of an evil white person. Okay? That's why it's only white people who are accused of being racist, because it's not actually a thing, it's just a stereotype, a slur. So you want this individual to be able to reflect, okay, and see, all right, have hope in bettering themselves, okay. So if your hope is in them taking on your hope to then look at themselves and say, okay, yeah, okay, and I actually want potential, I want to be a better person, and not promote racial discrimination by believing in old concepts like racism, all right, and racist, as if it's a real thing. I'm going to take on that hope and potential to better myself and to go free of what's called a meme pathogen. Oh, I didn't even know that the word racist and concept racist was called a meme pathogen, an anti-white meme pathogen. It's a psychological pretext which forms a psychological sickness in an individual. An axiom of a narrative. Oh, I didn't even know that I thought racist was a real thing. Okay? Then that's an example. That person is taking on your hope for them to be better, and they are applying it to themselves. They're reflecting, and then they're having that hope towards themselves to be better, to not use the word racist again. All right? So that's when you can actually have hope for that person. But if they don't take it on to better themselves, then you don't give them any hope. You see them for what they are. And then you be suspicious. You throw the hope in the bin, keep the suspicion, they're probably just an anti-white scumbag, and they just want to keep using the word racist because they want to harm innocent white people. They know it's not a real thing. They know it's just a racial slur against whites, but they're fucking dogs. Okay, you keep that. Throw out the potential and hope that, maybe they're just ignorant and they just don't know that racist is just a slur against white people. Because they know now, you told them. So now they have to take on that hope and potential to change their perspective. So you have this hope for a person, they won't take it on and reflect and share this same hope in themselves to be a better person. So you throw the hope in the bin, you only have suspicion and doubt them, right? Keep an idea in your mind that they're probably just a scumbag, purposely being a scumbag just to hurt people and harm innocent children. They're probably fucking filth, all right? And then, just with that in mind, look at the reality of the situation before you and realize that either the hope or the suspicion is merely abstractions in your own mind. It's not the actual perceived reality. It's just a tool that you use to measure, to try to interpret that reality in a way that is functional, all right, or pragmatic, useful. Understanding that, put it all aside, forget these abstractions, look at the reality. They're promoting a term like racist, they use it in everyday life, they act as if it's a real word. That means they're anti-white. That means they're responsible for the harm of innocent children. They're fucking scum. Done. If they want to apologize, they want to stop using the word, they want to ask questions and try to understand how and why believing a word like racist is a real word is the promotion of child abuse, fine. They'll be forgiven. Because they didn't understand, they want to learn, they want to understand how believing in a word like racist is the promotion of child abuse. You're basically as bad as a pedophile if you believe in racism. If you believe racism is a real thing, you're basically as bad as a pedophile. If they want to know how and why that's fact of reality, then that's good. Keep the hope, because they have hope to better themselves and become better people. But if they don't want to accept that, okay, if they want to just not make any change at all, they don't want to reflect at all right, then don't have any hope in them. Just acknowledge what they are, all right? So again, you throw out the abstractions and just look at what the reality is. Oh, you're anti-white, promoting anti-whiteism, therefore the harm of innocent white children. You're the same as a fucking dirty pedophile. You're a scumbag cunt. You're a scumbag cunt. Anti-white fucking scum. Literally, the only thing worse than you, that you're pretty much close to on the same level, is a fucking pedophile cunt. And yes, just because you think racist is a real fucking thing. Yeah. You're almost as bad as a fucking dirty pedophile. That's the reality. The reality, alright? So forget about hope, forget about suspicion. Maybe they do want to harm children. I don't care if they do. Maybe let's have hope that they want to change their ways. Who cares? The reality is, they're promoting the abuse of innocent children. They're basically on the same level as a pedophile. Okay? So focus on the reality. Fundamentally. The reality before you. Again, while holding suspicions in mind, alright? Primarily because that's how you survive and you catch predators before they harm you or your children. And then sprinkle a little bit of hope in there and see if they take it on and change themselves with your hope that they can be better. And again, if they don't, throw the hope in the bin, keep the suspicion, address the reality. Because that's the way you survive long term. That's the way your genetics survive for thousands of years. And everyone else who does anything else, guess what happens to them? That's right. They all went extinct. And they all will go extinct. It's called a bottleneck of evolution. Okay? Most people, most genetics go extinct. Most species go extinct. It's only the best. It's only the most efficient. Those which function, alright, most optimally, that actually go through the bottleneck and survive and, don't just go extinct like most do. So small percentage, minority, actually survive through history. If you have healthy genetics, you're a healthy human being who was born, who's destined to exist, to pass on your genes and have descendants who live on this planet who exist in the future. Then you will understand 100% what I've said. It'll be intuitive. You'll be nodding your head with everything I'm saying, going, that makes perfect sense. That's pretty much what I've thought my whole life. Haven't really been able to put it into words, but that's what I've always thought. I agree 100%. Okay? Because you have something in you that is genuine, that can survive for thousands of years. But if you have any doubt, you're confused about what I've spoken about, you don't quite understand, and especially if you think I'm wrong, you think it's funny, or, it's, how would I know what I'm talking about? Ha 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 ha. Guess what? You're a genetic mutant. You're going to go extinct. You're not going to have any descendants. Your people won't exist. Your family's going to die off, and nothing of you will ever be remembered or ever exist. You're nothing. Okay? Because it's not anyone's fault. It's just you're born to be nothing. You're born to go extinct, to fade into nothingness and be irrelevant. That's just who you are, what you're born to be. But if you can understand what I'm saying, and it makes sense to you, that's because you were one of those people, those rare individuals who's born to exist. You will have descendants in the future, because we're the people who do. And we're the same people who have existed for thousands of years, alright, and passed on our genetics. While most other people go extinct. The people alive today, we all descend from folk like us, like myself, who understand these things, and it's common sense, it's natural, instinctual to us. It's a part of who we are. It has been a part of who we are for thousands of years. It will be a part of who we are for thousands of years to come. And the majority of people on the planet today, the 90% of mutants, genetic freaks, will go extinct, and no one will ever know or care that they existed. They are nothing. Totally irrelevant. So, don't waste your time having hope for them, maybe there's potential in them. No. I'm sorry, but face the reality. Don't put yourself in that same category as a genetic mutant that can't just become naive, alright, and doesn't see the reality in front of it, doesn't see predators, doesn't know how to protect itself. Alright? Don't allow yourself to be, and maybe you are, just that, you're born to be that. And that's your destiny, to go extinct, to have false hope, to try to see the best in everyone and constantly be taken advantage of. Maybe you're destined for extinction. Your whole family is destined for extinction. Alright? But those of us who will survive, who again have survived for thousands of years, and our descendants will exist for thousands of years to come, we understand these things in these ways. And that's why we are those who survive, and not like yous who go extinct, or the others, the vast majority of people. Because they either are just too weak, too incompetent to actually protect themselves from predators and things in the world around them when they see them come at them, or they're too passive, too naive, and they don't see these predators and threats and things when they do come at them, so they go extinct. The current threat in the world that we live in today is called anti-whiteism. So if you're a white person and you haven't got some instinctual panic, you haven't got some, some paranoia that there's something, the world's out to get you, alright? That the system isn't anti-white. If you can't see that as a white person, you as a white are the most discriminated, okay? So us whites are the most discriminated race on the planet, right? Treated worse than any other race of people on the planet. If you can't see that as a white person, guess what? That's right. You're one of those genetic mutants who's become too passive. You will go extinct. So everything you think, your opinions, everything about you, totally irrelevant to human history. You're nothing. Okay? But us white folk who do know that we're the most discriminated race, that we are under threat, okay? That the biggest threat to the world at the moment, the biggest destructive force on the planet is called white erasure, the destruction of white people, members of Western kind, our culture, etc. Right? The erasing of us, our folk, our traditions, our history, and that us whites are not the most discriminated, right? If you can't see this, again, you're one of these genetic mutants. If you can see this, you are aware that the biggest evil in the world at the moment is called anti-whiteism, then you're a healthy human being, you still have good genetics, you will survive the bottleneck. You're one of the people like you who have been alive for thousands of years, and your descendants will live for thousands of years to come. But everyone else, the rest of them, they all go extinct. They don't have no family lines, no descendants, nothing. They're nothing. Why? Because they can't see that the biggest evil in the world right now, a global threat, okay, is called anti-whiteism. That whites, the white race, is the most discriminated and persecuted race on the planet. And they're white themselves. And they can't even see that we're the most persecuted, discriminated race on the planet. So, if there is a vast majority of people out there who are totally irrelevant to all of human history. So 90% of people on the planet right now, okay? 9 out of 10 people, totally irrelevant. They're going to go extinct. Their genetics are not going to exist. They're not. They just exist for nothing, right? Just a waste of space, basically. Just a temporary mutation at the moment. It's going to be cleansed, wiped away, washed away. No one's ever going to know that they even existed, right? So if this is the case, this is the fact of evolution, the fact of the way the world works, and you have to be either very low IQ, slightly retarded, or just delusional. Again, you've become passive. You're one of these mutants who will go extinct, so you can't see threats, right? So you don't see that it's a threat to be that passive, right? If this is the case, most people are like this, how delusional would you have to be, all right, to want to, or to, go out of your way to try to see the best in folk, or try to help folk? Because remember, 9 out of 10 people are totally irrelevant. They're not even going to exist. They're dead ends, genetic dead ends. They're basically committing genetic suicide. So why would you try to build a house for someone who's committing suicide? What are they going to do with the house that you build them? They're literally about to hang themselves. So why would you bother to try to help them? Unless you can point to them and say, hey, look, you're hanging yourself. Because you're too passive, you can't see that anti-whiteism is the biggest threat on the planet. All right? And then they see reality and put the noose down. Right? Then you can help them. Then you can start building that house, metaphorically. You can do everything for them. So if you're pointing this out, you're showing people on a daily basis, as I do, folk like I do, anti-whiteism is the worst thing in the world. All right? The worst evil that has ever existed in all of human history. The persecution and discrimination that us whites suffer now is the worst that any race has ever suffered in all of human history. People have been non-stop saying this. People who are going to survive, who can see the actual threats, see the world around them. They're not living in a delusion, where everything's hunky-dory, everything's all positive and good. All right? We're constantly saying this every day, warning the whole world of the actual predators, the actual threats in the world around us. Okay? So if most folk, they can't hear it, they can't listen, all right? What point is there, what good is there in trying to, find that potential in them, that hope? Because those who have that potential to reflect on themselves, have that hope in themselves and better themselves, right? They naturally do. They're designed genetically to do that. It's a part of their instincts. It's a part of their DNA. Okay? So there's no necessity for hope in folk, or maybe they'll change their ways or this. No. We literally just have to point out and just state the reality around us. Just point out the facts of the reality, okay? So, simple metaphor, break it all down. Anti-whiteism is a lion in the bush. Our only job, all we have to do is just keep pointing, say, look, there's a fucking lion in the bush, cunt. There's a fucking lion in the bush, bro. See that big fucking lion? It's about to jump out and rip your fucking throat out. Yo, everybody. Big fucking lion in the bush. Look at this cunt. Alright? That's all we do. And the people who scratch their heads and go, a lion, anti-white, yous are crazy. We ignore them, Don't waste our time on them. Why? Because they're the mass majority, the 90%, the 9 out of 10 genetic mutants who they can't see the lion in the bush who's about to rip their throat out because they've become too passive. They're destined to go extinct. They're nothing, irrelevant. Okay? And everyone who does matter, everyone who is relevant, who will be remembered, who will have descendants, their bloodline will survive, their family will survive for thousands of years, every single one of them. Guess what happens when we yelling non-stop every day, hey look, big fucking lion, there's a big lion in the bush, see this big fucking lion in the bush here, cunts? That's right. They all go, holy fuck, there's a massive fucking lion in the bush, cunt. Holy fuck, look everybody, there's a lion in the bush. And they join us and we're all saying, look, there's a big giant fucking lion in the bush. It's called anti-whiteism. There's this big thing, anti-whiteism, the racial discrimination against white people. See that big fucking, it's going to kill every cunt. Holy fuck. Again, everybody who's going to survive, who matters, who is relevant to existence, they see that fucking lion in the bush and they join us and they start screaming to everyone, there's a fucking lion in the bush. And everyone else who mocks or doubts, who can't see the fucking lion in the bush that's about to jump out and rip their fucking throat out, alright? They're fucked. They're gonna go extinct. Don't try to help them. You're literally pointing at a fucking lion that's right there in the bush, clear as fucking day. Any sane person can see it. And these cunts are scratching their heads laughing at you, saying, nah, there's no lion in the bush. What do you... You think the white race is the most discriminated? Anti-whiteism. They're insane. They're delusional. They can't see reality. They're genetic mutants. They're destined... It's scientifically proven. They're going to go extinct. Their brains are broken. They're mental. They can't see reality. But guess what? Again, everyone else who is going to survive, whose brains do work, every normal, healthy person in existence, they agree with us and they don't want to be eaten by the fucking lion. Yeah? So it's pretty basic. Do you have to have hope? Do you have to try to be understanding? No. No. You just yell, point at the big fucking lion, yell that there's a big fucking lion in the bush. Every sane person is going to see the big fucking lion in the bush, which is called anti-whiteism, and they're going to run the fuck away, and they're going to warn every other cunt who's sane not to go near that big fucking lion. It's going to rip your fucking throat out, you're fucked, alright? And every insane motherfucker who you shouldn't waste your time on is going to laugh and doubt and go fucking try to pat the lion and say, that's just a little cat. It's just a little kitty cat. And they're going to get their fucking throats ripped out. Alright? Simple. Done.